Happy Monday morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hello.
Monday, everybody.
We've made it to our 7th webinar.
Yeah.
This is
Welcome
number 7.
to, I know, right? Welcome to episode 7 of Tour Management 101, the only concert industry event that's opening its doors every week and increasing its capacity.
And Henry's found his MC vibe with the, he's got that perfect mic and
I'm working on it.
perfect voice. And hey, Cindy Chapman's in the room. Hi, Cindy Lish.
Jazz.
Hi. Good to see a lot of familiar faces and names in the group today. All right, so should I kick this off? You guys want to get started?
Kick it off.
Yeah.
Kick it off, Henry. Let's do it.
All right, so here we go. Music touring makes up less than 3% of all global travel, but at any given time, 24 hours a day, there are tens of thousands of crew, and all of them are being led by a tour manager. When you go on tour, from the moment you walk out of your house to the moment you return, it's the tour manager's responsibility to make sure the crew and the artists can travel to the show and back home safely and also within budget. So whether it be on a plane, tour bus, train, or by van, touring is the business of travel, and a tour manager needs to be a jack of all trades when it comes to this part of the job, but also learn that a travel agent is like another tour manager that's going to save your butt when things go wrong. With nearly 20 years in the game, I consider travel an art form that takes years to master. A great tour manager leads his or her crew into tour like it's a battle, organized and confident, but also creates the Rockstar experience for the artist, smooth, discreet, and sometimes flashy. So today we're going to cover the basics of travel with two seasoned pros, travel agent Molly Williams and hotel rep Jamie Klein. Ladies, thanks for joining us.
Yay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you. Hi.
where do we want to start?
One.
Oh, I think this goes to 5-1. Can you hear us?
Yep.
So, well, yesterday I asked you, because I consider you a whiz on all things budgeting and numbers. And I think a good 101 question that we had yesterday was, how do I determine what my budget is when it comes to like hotels and travel? If I'm a new student, new tour manager, how do I first begin?
That's a pretty open-ended question. I think we spoke about it yesterday. It's pretty much going to just depend on the size and scope of your tour. Are you traveling in a bus? Are you traveling in a van and trailer? Are you traveling in a Sprinter van? Guarantees are. So if you're on a tour where you're only getting $500 a night or $1,000 a night, that's pretty much going to put into scope of what you're going to need to try to balance. And usually if you're like 500 and you have 5 or 6 people on tour, are you going to need to double up on the rooms to save some money? Are you going to want to stay at hotels where you could save money, like that has free breakfast, free Wi-Fi? But to shorten the question and the answer, I think it's going to really depend on the size and scope of your tour, how many people that you have on tour. But generally, groups that are just starting out, I would usually put like anywhere from 79 to 129. And it's also going to depend on the cities also. Like if you're playing New York, Boston, Los Angeles, the major cities, you're not going to really find something in that price range. So we're going to hear from Jamie and Molly on ways to save money further down the road. But that's how I generally base it. And sometimes the business manager will give you a number that they want to use, but you're actually going to be the ones that are going to be out there traveling. So you've got so many different variables that you have to figure out.
Henry, not to note here, would like to know, are we on Facebook? I was looking for it and wanted to double check and see if we're streaming.
On that. Sorry, I'll work on that while we keep going.
Yeah.
So, and the thing about the budget is sometimes you may get a wish budget from your business managers or management. They might have a great idea for an across the board budget, and you can't always do it, and the girls will get into some of the particular Supply and demand in hotels is a thing. And as we know, flights are the most inconsistent pricing ever. You can be booking flights and have your flights pricing change in the middle of trying to book 25 people on the same flight. Not everybody's going to get the same cost basis. It's timing and it's supply and demand all the time. It changes all the time. Just a note on the ever-changing organic nature of travel.
And because some cities are a lot more expensive than others, you know, in a broad sense, if you're averaging out your hotel pricing across a tour, that can be one easy way to save money, is to offset the more expensive cities in places where hotel costs are cheaper, like the Midwest, the middle of the country, cities that are less well traveled to. So if you know that you label everybody's going to be out for your New York show, your artist is going to want to stay in the city, it's going to be expensive. So maybe you offset that. If your tour is budget conscious, very much budget conscious, you could offset that by staying in, you know, a slightly cheaper hotel when you're through Minneapolis, or when you're through Omaha, or somewhere like that. You know, where your hotel prices are going to vary wildly, dependent on the city or cities that you're going to be traveling through on your tour. So it's a pretty easy way to be able to offset some of the higher city costs.
Doug, you want to take it right into busing a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. For the people who are have never been on a tour, don't know how hotels work for bus touring, I just wanted to break out the different stages that you could be looking at when you approach your first bus tour. I think van touring is pretty self-explanatory. You need hotel rooms for everybody in your tour party. If you are in a van, there's a pretty good chance you're there because your budget is tight. So for the most part, hotels may be shared rooming. And you know, you want to consider things like drive times, hotel security, parking. You know, there's no point staying at a hotel and just off Times Square if you've got a van and trailer. It's not going to work. So you need to factor in how long your drives are going to be, getting out of the city in the morning, traffic, security, and price, as well as everything else when you're in a van tour. But that's fairly self-explanatory. Once you get into buses, things change quite a bit. If you're on your first bus tour, and you only just manage to push the budget to reach a bus, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be there's a pretty good chance, first of all, that you're going to be touring in small clubs which may not have shower facilities. So it's important that on show days, first of all, let's take drivers aside from it. Bus drivers always have their own hotel room, non-negotiable, it's part of the contract. They have to have a room, get them as nice a room, as close to the venue as you can afford, because as we said before with driver care, keeping your drivers happy is key. So, you know, try and get them walking distance or short Uber distance to and from the venue. That'll make your drivers happy, make sure they can get to their hotels and be well rested. For your tour party, say you're out on your first small clubs and theaters, there's a pretty good chance, especially in the US, that a lot of those venues may not have shower facilities. So you're going to want day rooms, a day room or several day rooms, depending on your budget and your needs. Again, proximity to venue is key here. If you it's going to be a, you know, let's say 20, 30, 40-minute Uber ride, dependent on traffic, for people to get back and forth to the hotel. So proximity to your venue is key in that sense. And on days off in that type of touring scenario, you may, on travel days, only be able to afford day rooms as well. So for example, say you're going from, I don't know, you're going from Seattle to Boise. Oh, excuse me, we're going to Boise. You're going from Boise to Minneapolis, and you have a 2-day drive on the bus. So you're going to have 2 stop days in there. Let's say, I think Bozeman, Montana is in there. And you are going to, your bus is going to drive overnight. You're going to arrive in town sometime in the morning or the early afternoon. And your driver is going to go on break. At that time, your crew will be, if they're living on the bus, they'll need showers. So the type of hotel you book is kind of key in that situation. You want to be close to amenities like malls so that your team aren't losing their minds. And you want a hotel that has bus bar so your team can use the shower facilities as conveniently as possible. This type of touring is it's pretty rough. If you're new and you're hungry, you might just eat it up. But after you realize that there are a lot of people on the road who don't leave home for less than solo hotel rooms on days off. And once you've been on the road for a couple of years, you will realize why that is the case. Your days off are sacred, and for the rest of the touring time, you're spending 24 hours a day with the same group of people. So being able to get off the bus, get into a hotel room, and just mentally check out for a minute is crucial after a couple of years on the road. So you will encounter experienced touring crew who tell you, I don't do anything for less than solo hotel rooms. And that's at a certain level of touring, you will come into conflict with that if you can't afford solo hotel rooms and you're trying to hire somebody who will not leave the house for less than solo. So that is something that you will face. When budgets start to increase, you will be able to things on days off. That's better than the previous example, but at the same time, you will still encounter people who will only leave the house for solo rooms. At a higher tier of touring, the entire tour party will have solo rooming on days off. So your bus will roll up to the hotel, everyone will get off, go check in, and you'll have 12, 20, 30, 40, 50 rooms at this hotel to check in. So that kind of gives the scope. And just at the top tier of touring, the arena, stadium level, you might have multiple different hotels with your A party, your B party, and your C party staying at different locations. So that's a brief overview of the different types of bus touring hotel configurations that you. And I will hand over to MJ to bring in Molly here.
Great. So when you are first starting out, a lot of people will book their own hotels if they have a small amount of hotel rooms. As Tim Mercer just mentioned, sometimes you can check with the promoter for deals, local hotels in proximity of the hotels. However, we all believe that it is very smart to work with a travel agent, and you can even work with a travel agent at what you may think is too small a level, but actually it can be the relationships that the travel agent has, especially with hotels, it doesn't cost you anymore. They can help you with better deals. And this is where we're going to talk to Molly. Molly Brixton Williams has a really unique set of experiences because she comes out of our world. She was a production coordinator, tour manager, road manager with many major acts, and then has switched to the travel side of things. On what we need. And Molly, why should a tour manager, especially a tour manager who's starting out, use a travel agent, and what can you do for them?
Hi, everyone. Well, I think, you touched on the beginning of it, but relationships is a big one. Our relationship with the tour manager, as well as our relationship with the hotels and the airlines. We consider ourselves to be experts in our field, so we spend our time, we're part of, bigger companies that have more access to discounts and deals, negotiated discounts, waivers and favors, perks with airlines, and those kind of things. So we kind of do the, try to do the heavy lifting on your behalf. We negotiate the lowest rates that we can get for your hotels, flexible rates if possible. We've been to a lot of the hotels. We know the sales managers, personally, and work with them to make sure you have early check-ins, late check-outs, those kind of things that you can't get through Expedia. So here's a little one sheet that I made that Henry just shared. So those are, kind of some of the bullet points. We would like you to come to us with your budget, so we have an idea of what you're working with. Once we have that, we can work closely with you to go through your routing and make sure, get into those details of what time do you think you're going to arrive there? What are the drive times like? What does that actually mean for what date are you checking in? You need to get there at 8 a.m. Make sure, then that actually makes your check-in the day before. So those kind of things. This highlights some of the advantages that we have when it comes to air travel. We can hold flights for you without purchasing. So everything is just ready to go, and we're holding that seat at that fare without having to spend the money while we make sure your plans, finalize. Kind of running down this list. I mean, refunds, that is an FAA rule. So every consumer does have that benefit of refunding a flight that's purchased within 24 hours. But we can do it also over the weekend. So we can void anything up to Monday that was booked on a Friday. We do have negotiated discounts with most of the major airlines. So we can often get you a price lower than what you'll even see on AA.com or, Delta.com. Often have lower international fares for international business class, which is a big advantage. We can sometimes get those less than half price of what you'll see published online. Waivers and favors for most of the big airlines, we can go in and get you preferred seats without you having to pay for them. We can get you out of things. We have special phone numbers and desks that help us with, all those kind of things when you need the extra assistance. And the bottom one there, just being the, advocacy. We're your right hand. If you're boarding a flight that you're going to miss the connection, that's not something you can handle on your own. So we're online, we're on the phone, we're making sure, say you're heading into a blizzard in Chicago and everybody's about to get stuck there. We can hold you a rental car, hold you a hotel room, hold you on a couple different flights that we think might go. We're all hands on deck, up until you get to where you're going.
How do you guys do it? How do you do all of that for us? For so, it's so summarized, but you do so much. But even there, the very last one, that support while we're out on the road is the biggest thing. That's key for any tour manager. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And then if you can go through step by step, somebody comes to you. Now, a way to find a travel agent is, I'm going to say, is just ask tour managers, ask people who they've worked with. That's the way I think I found most of my travel agents, all of my travel agents, and probably the way most other people did. And sometimes you want to talk to a few to find the right fit. Sometimes you'll, inherit one, but once you have a new client, Molly, can you go through the onboarding, what you need?
Yeah. Yep. And I will say too, BobNet does have a fairly comprehensive list. If you subscribe to that, he has that as a vendor list. So let's see here. Onboarding a new client. Yeah, I mean, we don't need a lot from you. Specifically, we need your business manager, tour company's entity, name, address, billing phone number, how you want the account to be set up in our system, and how you want it to appear on all of your invoices for, correct billing and tax purposes. We need your tour schedule and routing, but we would ask that when you send it to us, you have already, spent time putting your eyes on it, going through it, to plan check-in date, check-out date, number of rooms per night, estimated arrival times, and your estimated budget. So we can definitely, for very new people, we can go through that with you and kind of, play out different scenarios if that's something new to you. But we definitely would like it to come to us, with, your initial plan in place and some questions here and there. But we don't want to spend all the time on it with just here's where the shows are, because there's so many things you need to read between the lines on a routing beyond just, you're not staying in the show city every night. Credit card info, routing, estimated, travel needs there, contact information for anyone who we're working with, decision makers on the tour. We'll send out a client intake form with all these questions. And we kind of want to know, who's the decision maker on the flights? Does the accountant need to be copied because they have the final say for the budget, So kind of an introduction to and contact information for all of the tour decision makers that we'll be working with. Personnel information submission. So we also have a link for that where you can send out to each of your travelers. So the onus is on them to provide, correct and accurate information, not you pasting it off of another sheet and et cetera. As well as a passport scan upload. So then we cross-check what they entered. So we're going off of, the exact information. So yeah, so Henry, that's just the first page of an example of what our form looks like when you have that link. And if you're already an established group and we're just starting to work with you, we can certainly use your personnel grids if you have them, And then let's see here. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. And then, your hotel preferences and priorities. What type of hotel is this going to be? Is this a full service hotel, Marriott's? Is it Four Seasons? Is it more of the select service hotels like your Homewood Suites, Hilton Garden Inns? That's obviously related to the budget, but also preference. Is bus parking a priority? Is there a bus? How many buses? Early check-in and late check-outs. We kind of get to that based on the routing, but sometimes we need to know that before we even start looking. If this is a band, this band is never leaving the hotel until 4 p.m. They have a 6 p.m. sound check, whatever. Like that might be a prereq before booking a hotel. So we want to know that going into it. So we're not just going, here's all these great hotels. They all have an 11 a.m. check-in, and now we're backpedaling and finding out it's a full extra day charge for 4 p.m. So if we start that as a prerequisite, then we'll base hotels on your needs like that. Proximity to restaurants, walking distance, what's important to the specific group.
And get really detailed. Like I had a group that a specific was they had to be able to walk to a coffee shop that wasn't Starbucks and a bookstore. But that's just what they wanted to do on their days off. That's where they hung out. So, and I think it's details that are that detailed are important to a travel agent. So don't feel weird telling them that because it's better than moving hotels once you're already in.
Exactly. Or renegotiating everything. I mean, we can start with our base list. We need a 1 p.m. check-in and a 3 p.m. checkout, no cost. And the hotels that can do it can come back to us with those options. So, the more details we have up front, the better. And of course, we're used to them always changing, but.
And this, it speaks to a question that Emily Arthur asked on the Q&A a few minutes ago about specific entertainment related travel agents. That's the caveat to the whole thing. You can go find a regular travel agent somewhere and they aren't going to be able, they're not going to intuitively know what your needs are. We are not the normal 9-to-5 corporate gang. I have a cousin who works for American Express in travel who could not really do what we do. Because we're dealing with such large groups, but the specificity of what we need from our hotels. And I think that, you know, Jamie, you can speak to this. You have been a hotelier for ages, and you would definitely see all manner of groups in addition to entertainment. And I think you can speak just briefly to the fact that the entertainment, having an entertainment-based associated travel agent and hotel reps who are also entertainment savvy, this industry is pretty big. And you'll be able to know by the number of out-of-work travel agents and hotel reps that have been laid off right now due to the fact that touring stopped. There are quite a few, there are many businesses, many travel businesses and travel-related support businesses that are directly affected by the moves of touring. We have a lot of people who launch businesses to support concert touring specifically. So that was a really long answer about, please, yes, find yourselves we're travel agents and how to help to, and we talk about this a lot at some of the panels and touring conferences we do. We talk to our travel people. They come and they spend time with us learning how to fix things. So it's really a very, very important give and take relationship that we have with our hotel folks and with our travel agents specifically.
And that leads me into, we were talking about yesterday with the relationship between the TM and travel agent. I mean, I know for me, I'm on email for sure with my travel agents every day, quite often on the phone every day, even just to check in or a text or something like that. That is going to be one of the closest relationships you have on the road. They
Yeah,
get to know,
absolutely. And that's, I mean, the camaraderie and the support, you know, beyond years of experience in holding flights and doing flight. Is that me?
We're mixing now.
I was going to say,
DJ show.
got the scratch.
Taking a whole new level, whole new
EDM
level.
for a minute there.
But just having that person that you can text when shit is hitting the fan and you're in the airport with 35 people in line behind you looking at what to do, you know, we're that person for you. And we have a team of our own so that we have somebody, you know, to rely on. I mean, you can't exchange 35 people quickly. And a lot of times that means, you know, my assistant, hold 10 of those and put, you know, let's get those people on that and let's hold a van and let, you know, so, and really it is just that comfort and confidence of having somebody else in your corner at that time. And then you can
There's a
blend it all
whole
on.
support team. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think too, you know, like you were saying, why is it important to have an entertainment travel agent? Because of the fact, you know, like everyone's been saying, it's all about relationships. I mean, I have worked in many different cities all over the country, and I've worked with every single person on this panel for, I don't even know how many years, but
I've been following Jamie from place to place for years, for sure.
So it is so key to have that relationship with your travel agent and have that relationship with the hotels as well. Because once you get in with an entertainment friendly, you know, travel agent hotel, your life is going to be so much easier because we just know, we just know what to ask. We know what to look for. We know what you guys want.
Right. We anticipate your needs because we've, you know, we know we've been there.
Right. So I think, can we talk about getting into hotel advancing? We there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're going to talk a bit about the hotel advance.
Do we
For
want to
me-
show the hotel spreadsheet
Right,
example
I was gonna do that.
Yeah, I'll just share that really quick.
of what you would send to the travel agent? So what Molly was going over, what she'd like to see. We have an example of that Doug.
Oh, that was a good one, right?
Yeah.
how you organize your rooming lists and the information that you send to your travel agents is going to be the thing that sort of sets the tone for how organized your hotel situation is. And I just want to mention something. It's really important to understand what your attrition and cancellation rates are on your hotels. We know this is a fluid business. We know that on any given day, you could have people coming in and out. You have to try to remember that if you can anticipate some changes, get them done as soon as you can. Because there are going to be times when no matter, Nick Gold's in with us today, and he's an amazing travel agent that I've been fortunate enough to move some of my more demanding clients over to. Send them as much information as you can, and make sure that if you're going to have changes, you get to your travel agent, copy everybody in enough time, because this is such a fluid business and people do come in and out. You end up burning hundreds of dollars on hotel rooms that you could have canceled 3 or 4 or 5 days ago. So you've got to try and stay on that a little bit. Just a note about not canceling in time.
All right.
And to go back on that as well, if you have an entertainment-friendly hotel that you're staying at, if I'm able to, which chances are 9 times out of 10, yes. Am I going to let you out on a room or two? Yes. I mean, because it is fluid. We just know it's changing. And it's about that relationship that I have with, everyone that is in this touring community. If I can't, then I can't. But, chances are we're able to be a little bit flexible on those onesie twosies. Now, if it gets into a bigger situation, then maybe not so much. But
Doug, you got
You have that spreadsheet?
Yeah, let me just see let me share this again.
Example of your,
There it is.
you able to get that? Your spreadsheet?
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is, there's no hard and fast rules on this. This is ultimately, you're just trying to get across as much of the information that Molly just described in as concise a manner. And I think something that's critical to mention is that it's very rare that you'll be booking the same number of rooms each night of the tour for 30 days straight. You will have management flying in, you'll have crew that live in a certain city, you'll have somebody wants to go here for this day, somebody that wants to go to here for this day. So it's important to take on as much of this information onto your shoulders manner as you can. So here's just a basic template that I use.
We lose him.
I think we've lost Doug. See what this.
Real time.
Okay.
Well, the template looks great.
You guys,
Hey Doug, can you show what the actual rooming list portion of this template looks like as well?
yeah, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so really quick, this landing page has all the information. Here's the routing here. This is the basic tour going from LA with rehearsals through Chicago. You got your required rooms, your ETA, whether you require bus or truck parking, and some notes here. And then let's jump to a rooming list here. Okay, so this is show day 1 in LA. You've got your A party. We're basing this on a 1 bus, 1 truck situation, so no differentiated tour A, B, C parties. You got your drivers, and let's say management have flown in for this one. So here you have your names for your rooming list. You got your TM, you got your artist, crew, room types, check-in date, check-out date, and here build a credit card. Say, for example, management is paying for their own credit card and they have sent a separate credit card authorization to your travel agent. You're going to bill your band and crew, your drivers to credit card number 1, management to credit card number 2. And then here, selected hotel. We've gone for the wine, obviously, in LA.
Yay!
And so here's show day 1. Show day 2, let's say you're on a bus tour, your team is going to be checking out on show day number 2 because your bus is going to be traveling after the show. A nice big venue like the Wiltern, plenty of facilities, so you don't need day rooms on that day, so you only have your drivers and your management who need rooming on that day. So it's pretty straightforward. I like to color code this, so you know I have rooms ready to book, rooms that are already booked, action required. Maybe I need to change a room out, maybe I need to change a name on a room or whatever it is, and cancel. And I can update this in real time with my travel agent so that we have a master reference sheet. Obviously, we're keeping in touch on email and on the phone about specifics, but if I keep this updated, then you know we can both reference it in real time. So we will put that document up on the website as well.
That's really great.
Really good.
So we can dive into hotel advances.
So I want to have a little group conversation with everyone involved, also with Jamie and Molly, regarding hotel advances. So now you've gone and you've selected your hotels, and your travel agent has reached out, and you've got your first draft of rooming lists in. For me, I would like to have my intros from my travel agents to my hotel reps. Now, we have a lot of interesting situations happening with the larger chains of hotels, the Sheratons and the Hiltons and what have you. They now have a sales contact, and the sales contact now turns it over to the event coordinator at the hotel, and now the event coordinator then will turn it over to people at the front office to check us in and do the actual work. The reason that we really need our travel agents is because this system is really not working these days, and we're having a lot of trouble at the big box hotels. So just a heads up on that one. Hotel advance, super important. So 7 to 10 days out, I'm expecting my travel agent to send me an intro email with the sales manager, myself, right, whoever the rep is, and so on and so forth. And they will say, this is Adrienne Biondo. She's the tour manager of XYZ. They'll be arriving at such and such a time on such and such a date. They're going to have bus parking. They're going to have this, they're that, the every other thing, small bullet points. I'm going to turn around and come back with an email. I'm going to ask the hotel to send me their most recent delegates list. This is the list that the hotel has that has confirmation numbers for your entire party. If you don't have it in your hand by the time, if you haven't gotten it from your travel agent who hasn't gotten it from the hotel rep by the time that advance email goes out, you need to get your delegates list to make sure that you have got all your people and all your people's days are correct. You know, humans input data into machinery all over the world. So if somebody keys something in wrong, that could be a problem at 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, or when you finally get there after a submarine ride and you want your hotel and you want your day off.
Especially if you entered in an Excel spreadsheet, sometimes Excel will move the date by a day forward or a day back. So
Right.
it's always good just to double check.
And this is where your accountability comes in. This is where you find out, because you could see on your spreadsheet, or, you know, depends on how, once your hotels are booked, it depends on how your travel agent communicates back to you about what you've got. Some people communicate in this imaginary grid that I'm showing you. Some people will send a series of PDFs with the information. You want to make sure that that bus parking that they've confirmed, let's not have any surprise parties, right? Is the street still available? Are there any new rules? Are there any new meters? Are you bagging the meters? Do we have to call someone and arrange this parking? You want to ask all of these questions. I frequently travel with a mother and children, or you know, various kids. Sometimes the kids are dancing, sometimes the kids are kids of performers or what have you. if there needs to be rooms that are, what's the word? What are conjoined rooms? Then you have
Adjoining.
to ask, right? You have to ask that question. If the hotel doesn't have them, you need to know that. Is there construction? That's a big question. If you're artists, if you got people that have been working for days and days and they really want to sleep, we don't want to hear drilling at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you have to ask the question, is there construction?
Not at
I'm a
all.
musical director that has a severe feather allergy. If I'm not putting that in my advance, and we can talk about, we're going to talk about hotel writers in a few. You've got to just be able to advance all the way through this. This is the point where you're asking the questions about any anomalies. You're asking that your key packs are done when you arrive. You're asking who your MOD, your manager on duty is. If you have your security guys coming as well, and this is artist arrival, this is where you ask who your hotel security leads are so that you can put your security in touch with them. This is where you find out what kind of elevator situations do we have? Are we going to have any issues with dropping when we expect to drop? This is when you make sure, and this is where, if you're not buying the day before, the night before for your tour, and you're rolling in on a day off, this is where you start the relationship with you and this current tour and that hotel rep to find out, how are you sold the night before? What are the chances that I can get any number of rooms at 10 a.m.?
And then can I piggyback on that? And
Please.
if you're not able to get in, if we're not able to, if we're sold out the night before, which at the line we're sold out frequently, if we're not able to get the whole entire group in early at 10 a.m., I mean, I've gotten 4 a.m., 6 a.m. requests. What is so important to me, and this is where the relationship is then between the hotel person and the tour manager, send me a list of who the priority is.
Right.
I need 1, 2, 3, 4 in that list, because then I can go to my team at the front desk saying, Joe Smith is the first person that needs to get in, or, you know, and then how that is labeled, because as Adrienne was saying earlier, you know, most of the time you're going to have key packets. And so your rooms are pre-blocked, pre-keyed, so you don't have to show anything. You just literally get your key packet and you roll in.
In a perfect.
But if the hotel is in a sold out situation, then we need to get that information from the tour manager as to who's the most important to get in first.
Right. And the other thing is they may, now typically we're booking king rooms.
No.
Unless we are told otherwise in advance that all kings are not available. Now, let's say we get there, everybody's tired. We know that, let's say we've got 80% of your kings, but we can accommodate right now, 30% might be queens. You still, at this point, have the opportunity, and please show up with your rooming list. Please have a copy. Please also, if you are, and do yourself and your travel agent and your hotel people a favor and group, if you can, please group your key packs by bus and send that the night before. Send it in your advance, but when you are the night before talking to whoever, hey, we'll be in 3 hours, or at 3 a.m. or at 6 a.m. or at 7 a.m. Did you get my key pack list? Listen, I'm not going to tell you that people aren't going to say, yes, everything's fine. They may say, yes, everything's fine as you're pulling up, and it's not fine. But you run a far better chance of being buttoned up if you do your due diligence. Send them a little list of key packs by bus, because we can do an alphabetical key pack list, but then somebody has to stand there and divvy up the keys if you're on a multi-bus tour. So if you do it that way, then you can get all your key packs, you can go through them and make sure they're correct. And if your production buses are 2 hours behind you, you can put bus 2 and 3 or bus 1 and 2, whatever it is, put them aside and tell the nice people at the desk they're right behind us. There's lots of ways to make this process easier
I love when tour managers do that with, because at the line we can accommodate bus parking. So we do a lot of multi-bus groups. And so I love it when a tour manager even send me a text at whatever time. Everyone has the emails and whatnot for the front office. Send a note saying bus 1 is going to be arriving in 1 hour. So then that way, all of everyone who's on that pre-advanced email knows, okay, let's get bus 1, all those key packets, they're coming in. And then if, like Adrian just said, if you've got production that's, 2-3 hours behind because they were loading out until whatever time the night before, then we don't have to worry about those rooms until later, if they are coming in on an early check-in request.
I want to add, it's one of my favorite parts of being a tour manager is pulling up to the hotels and checking in. I like to be the first one on the ground, whether it's 1 bus or 5 or whatever. I tell the drivers, loop around the block. Give me a moment to get the keys, and then I'm there at the front door. So I know I've already talked to my drivers and told them exactly what order to show up in. And so I've got my key packets ready. And it's just been such a funny thing that I do all the time is I will literally hand every single person on tour their key packet. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Whatever it is. And like, that's sort of like that repetition builds trust and value to you as a tour manager, taking care of your crew. But all of that needed to happen advancing with the travel agent to the hotel rep. There was so much conversation that happened to make that part so smooth to where we can make a dozen or 60 people just disappear through that lobby in minutes. This is why I say it's an art form, that it takes a lot of years to get your shit together, be organized, communicate.
And it also, you also have to know when you need to dump all your roadies in the lobby of a hotel too. Because if they're just being obstinate and not willing to help, and there's a group at the hotel desk that was not part of the advance and the communication failed, nothing gets rooms ready faster than a lobby full of roadies.
And we don't want a lobby full of roadies.
Exactly, that's the point, yes.
But at a certain point, if you're not accommodating, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Nick Gold, who's on the chat, said, what about private entrances and having elevator keyed off for VIP? True story. That was when I was talking about having your advances done. If you're a party and you are moving high level people, unless it's Lady Gaga and she wants to go right in the front door, you're generally advancing entrances for your key talent. That could be an underground garage situation. That could be a side entrance with a mad dash that leads you to the kitchen and the service elevator. But again, this speaks to advance. And guys, if you're going to put something up in the Q&A chat over there, please make sure that you select to all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see your questions. So when we answer them, whether we do it live or in the chat itself, everyone sees it. Molly, you have anything to add to hotels in general? Important bits about checking in, checking out?
No, I mean, I think, what you said, we, as soon as we have like version 1 reasonably realistic rooming list, could have some name placeholders or whatever, we introduce you to the sales manager and any pertinent hotel contacts in an introduction email. If your accountant is the one who wants the folio, not you, we'll put anybody on there who wants to be, and kind of give a little heads up. And then we do expect you to take it over. I won't say they're going to be there at 3:15 a.m. because it's a 4.5, once it's turned over to you, I would expect you to then make any nitty gritty changes. We can be left on copy, for billing, so we're aware of cancellations that were made or not. You can remove us and advance it, and then we'll get back involved at the point of requesting the folio, making sure you have all the final billing information that you need. But we try to balance between being very helpful and hands-on, and also allowing you to be productive. Our tour managers and production managers and coordinators are all savvy travelers. We try not to be too hand-holding to the point of micromanaging. Because
I'm
we're
at that
working on
point,
a lot of
I'm
stuff
leaving
with-
my travel agent on copy. In the onside chance that things really unravel, the email chain is the email chain and all the pertinent people are on it. If I need to hit everybody back and go, Houston, we have a massive problem.
Yeah.
I think that we'll speak for 1 second to casino gigs and hotel security and DNDs. And this is a situation that we've come across since the climate has changed in the last several years. Normally we would send out a hotel rider that asks the hotel to speak to their cleaning and hospitality staff about the do not disturbs on the doors. I personally will go into a hotel and I will tidy up my own. I don't want anyone coming in and out of any rooms unless I specifically ask for it. These days, I'm just going to mention this to folks who may be new. These days, hotels are not leaving people in rooms unchecked for days and days at a time. Specifically in Las Vegas, you're not going to come here. When you come here now, if you're doing a residency, you're not going to come here and leave the D&D on your door for 3 weeks and think no one's coming in. They're going to let you know that for the security of everyone, they're coming in to check rooms. Also, I wanted to mention that if you have issues, and this is it's a good practice to chat with your staff and let them know that if they've got hotel issues, that they should not get into it with the hotel. That the reason that there's a tour manager is because you've got your hand on the situation, and if something goes wrong or they feel like they've not had good service or there's been a problem, that's got to come to you. It's important, I think, to let your team know that they shouldn't be taking on any great hotel issues directly, that comes to you.
Hey, Adrian, can you back up and explain to people why, especially in Las Vegas, that they're going to come into your rooms? Can you tell them what preempted that for the casinos to start doing that?
And this, I want to speak to casinos in another way also. First of all, so there was a unfortunate mass shooting at the Route 91 concert in Las Vegas in 2017. And there was fault found in the fact that the gentleman was apparently in the hotel for more than a week stockpiling massive weapons. We were right into that hotel a week later. It was an unfortunately sad situation, but I do residencies in Las Vegas quite often, and these days people have to be more responsible. So they aren't, they just need to kind of come in and look around. They're not going through your stuff. If there is something that looks out of the ordinary, they're just going to call security. So it's just to peek through, and I got very comfortable with that. So there's a question going on about confidentiality, and Emily had a question about fans. Guys, I'm just going to say something about the fans. I don't know how they know, but they know everything. And they know things before we know things. And God love them, because we need the fans to do what we do. But you just kind of have to get used to the fact that we have that situation. We try to go with hotels that are entertainment experienced so they understand how to deal with that. Artists use aliases. It happens. What did they say? And these days, people know us. They know the tour managers. The interested fans are going to find out who everyone is. They know who the security guys are. They know who the lighting guys are. They know who the constant team members are. So it's just something that happens.
But we go through, we do our due diligence with the hotels to try to keep the tour and the artist secure. I mean, there's so many measures that we take. I mean, Jamie, as the hotel rep, I mean, you guys deal with us asking you to, first, yeah, the entrances are one thing. If you don't even see them coming in, then you don't know they're there. But if you do find out, then at least maybe I've got my artist on the top floor and I've taken out maybe every room on that floor and I put the entire tour up there, or maybe just the A party is surrounding the artist. I always ask for my security and my A party to be adjacent or near each other. I sort of create a perimeter of rooms around my artist to make sure that people that shouldn't be roaming the halls looking for the artist room aren't there. We also have a very close working relationship with hotel security. I have the number to whoever's on call 24 hours a day doing security, and they're aware of any fans that are coming in through the front door before they ever make it up to my artist floor. And so it's doing your due diligence, using aliases. Don't let the aliases get out of there. Don't, as a tour manager, you have to be smart about what you're putting on social media. Don't check into the hotel telling all the fans where you are. Stupid.
Yeah, and that is something we put on, NDAs now, on tours, even on smaller tours. It's like there are social media clauses, and I have personally, unfortunately, had to let somebody go because they would not stop checking in at hotels, on social media. It was a bummer, it was a bummer. But
to that point,
I think
everybody is, you're a team. And you're sort of the first line of defense against that your artist has too. So if you're out there, letting everyone know where you are, where they are, it just, doesn't know. It's not good if you're in the same hotel as the artist. Don't tell everyone where you are.
Also, even posting a photo out your window, sometimes people will know. They know you're routing. Like, it's just better not to post anything.
I was going to jump into, Aaron had just asked, are hotels aware if they're using aliases? Yes, and that's where the relationship is too, with the travel agent and with the tour manager when the final rooming list comes over. We do need to know, just for security and that kind of thing. Yes, is this an alias for artist? A, B, C, D, and then on our internal information, we know what that person's actual name is, because say Dave Grohl loses a key, and by chance someone at the front desk doesn't know who Dave Grohl is. We need to know that, yes, we can have Dave Grohl get a key for his room.
And part of our relationships and our riders is making sure that the hotels don't disclose the alias or pseudonym information, and that they also have rules internally for their staff and how the staff is meant to deal with phone calls because if Dave Grohl is there under Archie Bunker, he clearly isn't going to be getting phone calls for Dave Grohl. So the hotel needs to know that anybody calling asking for Dave Grohl should be rerouted. There is no Dave Grohl here.
Yeah. And tell the kitchen, please don't send up a cake that says "Welcome Dave Grohl" on it. It's like, just don't use the artist's name or likeness in any way. Like, don't even send up a note saying "Welcome to our hotel," saying the artist's name. If that's because that is something that could tip off. You never know where these things get shared. But we go through a myriad of practices to try to keep it a secret of where we stay. But yeah, it starts with a tour manager, and sometimes we just can't get around it. So that's when security comes into play, which is another topic.
And I think I should mention that even on a smaller tour, like Henry said, you don't have to be working with Dave Grohl to build a relationship while you're in the hotel with the hotel security.
Yeah. Or
with the manager on duty.
Yeah, if you're on a smaller tour, you're doing all of this as well. You're still, no matter what level tour you're on, you're dealing with hotels, and so you are the tour manager that is thinking of, like a security guard, to be smart about where the information goes. Don't share it, which is, honestly, like we make rooming lists, but I stopped using them a couple of years ago to save paper. And it was just it's an outdated practice of putting everyone's names and numbers on a list that could easily get lost. It happens, so we're just trying to be smart. But
and this does happen no matter what size tour you're. It can be a small band. small bands have fans too, and they can show
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah.
you still have to be aware of who you're at and who it is, and people hanging out in the lobby. You know, if they're carrying a record and your band is there, chances are there's something going on. Watch those people, make security aware of those people, have them checked out, because chances are they're, even like I said, even bands and vans have fans.
I had a production manager at a venue in Austin take a hit to the face because there was a lurking fan outside in the alley behind a theater. And this is one of my smallest artists, my most obscure client. She's got some crazy fans and they're special. And they literally showed up in the alley, and one guy was trying to get his hands on her, and we don't travel with security. She's 65 years old. You know, it's a very, very small situation. The guy had ended up downstairs and we booted him out, and he came at her, and the production manager for the theater put himself in between the guy the alleged attacker and my artist. And the production manager took a cane to the face and broke his nose and several teeth because this guy was so crazy. So it doesn't matter how big or small your tour is. When you've got an artist, what that artist means to whatever person they're connecting with, you just don't know. So you can't, think, well, this is a small tour. Doesn't matter. It can be the tiniest tour you've done. You can still have safety issues and concerns with your artist. And that is the same, you want to make sure that the hotels understand and don't be afraid to ask the question, how will you handle fans outside? Put those plans in place, talk to your hotel security, be involved, create relationships. It's a really good idea. Do you, Henry, want to get into traveling with a VIP?
Yeah. Okay. So, traveling with VIPs, we, as a tour manager, we want to make the artist live very smooth and comfortable and happy. So 3 things you can do to making sure your artist is traveling like a VIP. So we've covered hotels, and that is pretty, we covered that pretty in depth on how to make sure your hotel room is ready for your artist. But when it comes to flying, first of all, sign up for frequent flyer miles. Your first line, the first thing you should do, and it's free, is just sign up for the 3 majors. If you haven't already, American, Delta, United are the 3 major airlines that will pretty much cover you, and will cover most airlines besides the smaller boutique ones like JetBlue or Southwest. But sign up for them and then stick with one if you can. Build up your status, get the miles, and then when your artist or the crew have status, it will help you board earlier and get away from those fans. It'll help you, save money on those extra pieces of overweight baggage you have. All the perks that you get from the airline from having frequent flyer miles are self-explanatory, and it's free to do. Second is the other programs that you can sign up for, like TSA, Clear, Global Entry. These are all simple things that every artist I'm sure would be willing to pay for to make their travel a little smoother. It goes without saying how much those things benefit you being able to move as a group, as a team. Everyone on touring should have it, not just artists, but Clear is an amazing option to have that is growing. But the airlines also have lounges in their airports that you can pay a fee to have, that your artists can have for a membership for a year. This is typically where they can, once they get through security, can hide out in a lounge and have a drink or a snack before flights. That's one of the best ways to sort of make sure your artists are traveling through an airport smoothly. But then third is using a greeter service. This is typically something that you're only finding in major cities nowadays. Unfortunately, it's sort of a dying breed of a service when it comes to the independent greeter. And if you don't know what a greeter is, it's a service, it's a person that I am in touch with before I arrive to the airport. I've booked it a week or a couple of days in advance, hopefully. I've sent them my confirmation numbers for the artist and the say the A party that I'm traveling with, and I've told them how many bags we have. So when we pull up curbside to the airport, I just open up the trunk, they tag the bags right there. When we step out, they've already got my boarding passes ready. We'll go straight in to the front of the line, skip security, and go right through TSA security, straight to the lounge. And then depending on the artist's preference, I'm either boarding first or last before departure. But, you know, there are major cities now that have, like Los Angeles, London. I hear New York is getting one, but services like the private suite at LAX are amazing if your artist can afford it. It's a pricey service, but it's great. It's you check into an offsite building that's essentially a green room, stocked with everything that you could need. They drive you from an Escalade directly to the side of the plane, or if you're landing, meet you there at the plane door and put you right into the vehicle. So your artist literally never steps foot in the airport. It's an amazing service. Like I said, that may be more pricey, but it's when it comes to dealing with artists, these are 3 easy things that you can do. Beyond that, timing, making things run smooth for your artist is all in timing, right? Like if you know your artist is going to run late, you know, get to the airport a little early and give yourself some time. But if they're on clockwork, you know, and they run smooth, then, you know, get there in just enough time to where you're going to, and if you know that if you don't have any checked bags, you can just already have your boarding pass on your phone, ready to go, scan, clear to the gate in under 30 minutes. You know, like be smart about it and put all these tools to use, and you can just really, you know, travel like a rock star.
And one quick thing for all the kids who are starting out here, the importance of frequent flyer status cannot be understated if your tour is budget conscious. I toured with an artist who was not freighting their gear. They would fly with all their, say 25 pieces. And they were with Air Canada, which is partner to United. And they could fly all of their gear for free. 25 oversized, overweight pieces of luggage that would typically cost between $1,000 to $1,500 if you know, account for personal luggage as well across a tour party of 10, 12 people. So if you think in a summer of flying to festivals, you're saving $1,000 to $1,500 every flight, that's massive at that level. So, you know, if you're reaching the end of a year and you're maybe 5,000, 10,000 miles away from reaching status for the next year, it might be financially beneficial for your artist to put you on a flight just to make sure you get to a certain status, because it's going to save you so much money the following year. So I think the point about using status effectively can save your artist a lot of money and make your life easier at the airport.
I was close this year, and I paid $1,000 to put me up that bump and into the next level, so you can buy your way into it too.
Yeah.
Molly?
One other, if it's a really luggage gear heavy tour, sometimes a business class ticket, you know, outweighs the value of 3 checked bags. So if you're talking domestic flights, yeah, business class ticket might be, you know, $400 to the $120 coach ticket. But if you have 3 70-pound bags per person, which is what a business class ticket can check a lot of the times, you know, so you can get creative in ways like that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of ways that you have to get creative with it. Like if you're showing up to the airport with a dozen crew and they're all in economy and your artist is in first class, I'm going to go right into that first class check-in line, because I got somebody that's in first class right here, and we're traveling as a group. And so that could save you an hour of standing in the economy line, you know, just because I'm using this one person as sort of my key into that lane to check in. That could make or break a flight sometimes. So be creative.
2 other things to mention to check with your travel agent on. The airlines have business perks programs as well, small business rewards. The flyer does not lose their rewards. They still earn and accrue their individual points on every flight, but the business also does. So American Airlines, it's called Business Extra. Delta is called Sky Bonus. United is called Perks Plus. If you're not set up for those, the requirement is to have 5 individual different travelers. That's how small the company can be. Nobody's vetting that. Nobody's checking in and going, you had 4 different people fly, like you can sign up for the number. You do need like an EIN, so you're going to need some business management info, and the account should belong to the touring company, so you want to check on that. But those are great. The points accrue quickly, and you can use them for upgrades, lounge access, free tickets. I'm telling you, I mean, they vary on how many points each certificate costs, but they don't expire very often. And you just add that number to every flight you book on those airlines. So that's definitely that's kind of one of the things I was thinking is something that can be done in a time like now when there's no travel to book. We're working with our clients to make sure their accounts and profiles are cleaned up and that they proactively have these kind of accounts, and that we have all that information. And then one other thing I wanted to say also is most airlines do have entertainment production departments. The big airlines do, and they have benefits. Media bags is something you should check with your travel agent on. They have entertainment production contracts through the airlines that allow film, television, music to get reduced baggage fees. So you should definitely check with your travel agent on those opportunities.
Yeah,
Curious about that.
That's a tip that I've used for, and a lot of people don't know about for crew, for production managers, tour managers, for any crew, that if you can show any sort of credential showing you're in the media business, then you can get that media rate on your gear. So I've used business cards, and then a couple years ago, I had my pass company print out these fake press passes for myself. Look. So I just show it in, TTC production. I just made that up. It's Tyler, the Creator production. So and I just had my pass company make this, and I've given it to my crew guys that are always flying with gear. And then I have it whenever I need to, whenever I'm checking in as a group. These are little simple things that you can do to say that can save you a lot of money.
That's amazing.
Because we're saying those media passes, they will often ask you, they'll deny you if you say you work in music, but if you say you work in media, they will give you access to those rates. So yeah, the fake passes thing is something I've encountered a couple of times. So don't say you're with a tour, say you're with media, and you should be able to access those rates.
So Jim, you and Molly want to talk about booking flights a bit.
Hey, Henry, can we get the flight grid up, please? Do you have that?
Oh, yeah. Hang on one second.
So, yeah, so when you're booking your flights, Molly and I will discuss this, but basically, Henry's bringing up this flight grid, which basically you just need all the information of what you need. I'll have Molly go through exactly. It's all pretty straightforward. You need to have, you take the information that you got from your people, you have that, you get that to your travel agent, you use that to make sure that they have that information. To book the flights, scans of passports, all that. And then you look at this, it's pretty straightforward. You need names, you need where they're flying from, what class they are, preferred airlines, if there is one, otherwise have to go by the cheapest one. Then what day they're flying, and then if it's a round trip ticket, if you can book that, do that. Molly, why don't you go through a little bit of like if there's more information you need on this, and then what you suggest for how far out should you be booking flights, what's your suggestion on that, any other details that you can give us on, or help you can give us on that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the information you provided, departure city, departure date, arrival city, class of service. A lot of times people say, show us both, or this guy's usually premium economy, but let me see business just in case, So that's part of all of our service. There was a question on the side about how much do travel agents cost, which I can approach later, but we do charge service fees for booking flights. So included in that fee is, you know, our research, unlimited basically, on your options, providing options to you per your flight grid if you need one ways or round trips or both. And then holding the flight until you're ready. You know, that often changes a lot before we actually ticket it. Ticketing the flight with all of your travelers' pertinent info, TSA numbers, frequent flyer numbers, seat preferences, meal preferences for long haul flights. So that, you know, data management obviously falls on us at the time of booking. And yeah, so I mean, that's kind of our process. You know, you would send us that grid and let us know at what stage you're at. We're ready for options, and we just dive in and send you individual emails with, you know, options per traveler. And then kind of, you know, hold it, send it for your approval, and then you let us know okay to ticket, and then we'll issue it. As I said before, we can always void anything within 24 hours, completely 100% refundable. Maybe not on like a Norwegian or, you know, something like that, which may or may not survive this crisis. But how far in advance to book? I mean, it's hard to say, you know, as soon as you're ready. I mean, as soon as you have a true feeling that, you know, that final date is set in stone, you know when your rehearsals start, you know when your first show is. Of course, there is an advantage financially to booking a little further out. Who knows what's going to happen after all this? I mean, it's really hard to say, you know, post COVID-19. But I mean, I will say, like specifically, flights go up in price between 21 and 20 days, between 14 and 13 days, between 7 and 6 days. So I could be holding a whole tour, and if I'm, you know, not savvy looking at the calendar going, okay, that's 2 Thursday, you know, 2 Mondays from now, and we go, oh, let's look at it tomorrow. Guaranteed it's $150 more tomorrow. So, you know, that's kind of what I, you know, value.
That's really important to know too, because it happens all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, it's called a 21-day advance purchase, 14-day advance purchase. I mean, if you're looking at flights, you go, God, these were way cheaper yesterday. That is likely why, and they will not go back down. You know, it's not going to go back to cheaper after that. So, I mean, if you can, you know, 3 weeks out or further is great. Change fees are, you know, I've got a little list here about how to save money on tour that I can run down later. But apart from Southwest Airlines, which has no change fees, which is a good way to save money on tour, they don't charge for bags, seats, or changes. So
Fly Southwest, but
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yesterday we talked about tour managers knowing their travelers. Please know your travelers. Please let your travel agent know if you've got people that are 6'7", and that way, you know, maybe there's a way to get them upgraded. Maybe there's a way to get them a exit row seat, you know, extra leg room, whatever it is. You've got to.
As somebody who's 6'7", I would like to concur massively with that point. Yeah. Being stuck in a middle row with children on either side of you on a 10-hour flight is borderline abuse. So
yeah.
It's just you've got to know your travelers, and this really speaks to all parts of moving groups of people around. You know, you got to know to tell Molly that there's a mom and child, and they have to sit together, because that grid, you could send a grid over, and they could not understand that there might be a set of mothers and children there. Last name notwithstanding, it's happened. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to know your travelers, and you've got to give your travel agent all the little nuances because you're flying humans, you know, it's not cargo. It's more precious cargo.
And so just 2 other little points in air travel. One thing to know, that one-way international flights are almost always as much, if not more, than a round trip international flight. So it would always behoove you to know that return date, you know, or if we have an UK front of house guy and we're doing Los Angeles and a US tour, you know, okay, we need him to come to LA in March. Well, we're like, when's he going home? You know, is it October? Is it like, because a change fee will always be less than a whole brand new, you know, one-way international flight. So that's it's definitely better to book what you think is an estimated return date up front to get that round trip ticket, multi-city or you know, either way, than booking just a one-way. It'll eat your budget all day. And then the other thing I was going to mention is group flights. 10 or more passengers on the same flight. You have to be on the same exact routing. You know, it doesn't work for people coming into the city on a same day or whatever. This is like everybody moving from city to city. 10 or more, we can negotiate group contracts with all of the airlines. They're not always a lot cheaper, but they often are cheaper and they come with perks. And those perks specifically are, you don't need to put the names in until sometimes 30 days, you know, 2 weeks before departure. And you don't need to pay until then. So I do Pearl Jam crew, you know, we had a stadium tour, and as soon as that's announced, those flights are full because the fans are going to every show too. So as soon as we get that routing, you know, we negotiate a group contract for 45 seats, Seattle to Bozeman, 6 months in advance. It doesn't matter who's going to be on it. That flight will not be available. So, you know, we basically buy out the flight more or less when we know we need that routing. And sometimes that means 30 people on the 9 a.m. and 40 or, you know, 30 people on the 1 p.m. But the confidence of knowing you have the transportation you need before those dates get announced to the general public is huge. And they also allow for name changes. So, you know, inevitably a few people are going to change between 30 days and departure. And so they almost always allow at least 2 or 3 name changes for free up to before departure. Everyone varies. And they often offer a free ticket for the tour conductor. So your 20th flight is free. So there's a lot of perks there. So if you do know in advance, you know, we've got one fly date in the middle of the leg where, you know, we got to go Denver to Phoenix. Well, we can hold that right away and lock that number in for your budget before you know who's going to be in those seats.
That's great. I just learned so much, actually. I didn't know that we could do all of that.
Yeah.
You know?
That was new information for me too. That was great.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a submarine ride, when you know, it's typical. A lot of times the crew, even the crew, don't want to take the submarine ride, and will fly ahead.
Yeah.
That you know, on a bigger tour, that could be a good group discount rate if everybody wants to make that move. You know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Thanks.
Hey, Henry, did we end up with a hotel rider that we could share?
We do actually. It is on. It's on the website under templates at the bottom there, and here I can show you here.
Great.
I think we're running long, so when we sort of discussed
basically-
everything that we talked about here. This is a blank hotel rider that you could customize and use for your tour. This is you know, fictional preferences of.
Right, and Matt Palmieri asked the question, here's an example. It will be on the website for you guys to grab. It basically, a basic tour rider, and to the question, did we get into hotel riders for the Q&A guy, anonymous attendee who asked that question. We don't really have time today to go all the way through line by line, but it basically touches on what I talked about earlier. It talks about housekeeping rules. It talks about whether or not there's construction. It talks about security. It talks about checking in and checking out. And it speaks to what your settlement process will be if we have baggage. Now, you know, in my rider, I'm currently not doing porterage through the hotels, and it says it on my rider. We will be handling our own luggage. Do not put porterage on the rider. So this is just basically like an instruction sheet, and I encourage you guys with rider questions to either hit me up personally. Go to the website and download that rider. Have a look. We're all available for questions via social media later on.
Can I also jump in on that rider thing from a hotel perspective? I would love to know or to be aware of before, because we do amenities and all sorts of fun things for your VIPs and for your artists and that kind of thing. It is so nice to have what, you know, the tour manager likes, what the artist likes. Is the artist recovering? Is he not drinking? He or she, you know, so we don't send a bottle of wine, you know, to your VIPs.
Yep.
So like those things on your, also for the hotel, you know, is very important and just much appreciated.
Amenities section.
Yeah, and so that's always great to know too, especially for those that are recovering and not drinking. So that's the big one.
And I wanted to answer a question just real quick that somebody asked about fees to send in for credit card authorizations or for pulling invoices after checkout that travel agents charge. Some of them will charge like $20, $25. That's, some travel agents do, some travel agents don't, but I find that it's more standard. My take on that is, yes, you're like, oh, it's another fee. However, if you've ever done a credit card authorization on your own and chased it, it can take a few hours. And same with chasing invoices. So my take on that is that's a small price to pay for the amount of hours that it takes. And you know, that can be the difference. If you're juggling, if you're TM, PM, and doing tour accounting on your tour, on a small tour, like that is another 5 hours a week you probably don't have. And if that per week is costing you an extra $100, $150, like to me, that's a way to justify it to my, the business manager I'm dealing with. I'm like, it's cheaper than another body and you're going to get this stuff quicker. So I just want to throw that out there that it is a very much value added. And don't forget that you're paying for that, those hours, and it can take hours to chase that stuff. So they're not even making minimum wage on doing that if they're charging you $25 per invoice.
Well, that's kind of it. Yeah. I mean, we, you know, we hire staff to handle that. So we have to pay them and it takes their hours and that's how we quantify that. Yeah. So if Henry, if you don't mind, I just will answer one of these questions that somebody had. So Tammy Martin said, how much more expensive are travel agents? We tend to go third party because of cost. So, I mean, this is something that, well, you will probably see a change to the business model post COVID-19. It won't end up costing the clients more, but we will probably change up our business model a little bit. For the most part, travel agents charge a ticketing fee for flights. My agency is $40 domestic, $80 international. Someone also asked about using your miles. We charge $100 for a miles ticket because it is it's a little bit more work and we don't have as much control over it. And then we charge $150 for a round the world ticket. So if it's multi-segment, that's what my agency charges. We don't charge for booking hotels. We traditionally get compensated by the hotels after you check out on a commission structure. That has, you know, changed as everything does throughout the years. The way you might see it start to change is that travel agents may start charging like a planning fee, like an advance deposit towards, you know, the full, to get us on board full on into planning your tour and negotiating all the hotel rates and providing options. And I don't want to get too much into, you know, how this will work, but it is something that, you know, is being discussed and may change after COVID-19 because of all the work that's been done and all the loss of income that's happened because we don't collect any money up front. But Tammy, I mean, to your point, we don't really cost anything besides a fee per ticket. You will see fees associated with sending credit card authorizations, which you have the option to do them yourself, or a small fee for us. You know, we have some couple small fees with like credit card declining because we'll do all the work up front and then it has to be done again. But for the most part with, you know, if I were to book your Holiday Inn Express or you booked it through Expedia, you know, I could likely get you the same exact rate. I mean, sales managers typically honor the lowest rate. I will usually get the same or lower than what you're seeing online. And then you just have the added flexibility of having a real contact at the hotel and having me as your liaison to make changes for you, versus just, you know, you don't need it anymore. Expedia, whatever, that's a loss for you. You know, I do some travel for WWE production teams, and there's a lot of small moving parties. And we have last minute changes all the time that we get them out of. You know, this was a 48-hour cancel. You know, they don't need it one day out, and we're still able to get them out of it. And that's 6 people, and it doesn't cost them anything, you know? So, so I would say it doesn't cost you any more to book hotels with a travel agent.
Hey, Nick.
Hi, we brought in Nick Gold.
Nick Gold.
Hey, guys. Longtime travel agent friends. He's going to join us for a second. This is a really good question from Colin Miller. He says, last summer I had a lot of issues with our TA booking group reservations for crew in Europe, which we did not originally ask for. He goes on to say that he had lots of issues. Nick, did you see that commentary there?
Hang on, let me go look. Hang on.
So this is a question from someone who went through a TA and got a lot of group bookings with BA, which we do. We all do lots of group bookings with BA. So I think for a second, we just want to talk about the perils of European group bookings. What happens a lot in Europe, and I think it happens more there than here, there's lots of flying going on in Europe, and there's a lot, there tend to be more group moves in European travel than there is in domestic travel for us. So we do tend to look at doing a lot of group flights, but there's a way to do that. Nick, can you talk a second about how to go at the group flights that doesn't end up with your crew in, you know, middle seats and what have you?
Yeah, we do a lot of European tours, and yes, you're right. Some of those segments are only flyable because the buses can't do it. Obviously, the driving rules are very different, so we're forced to do flights. So similar to what Molly said, we can get group flights. A lot of the airlines within Europe have become very economical because they're competing with the big airlines. And so what I do is once I've got my block, I'll find, and I'm gonna have to call Europe to do it because they're not represented in this country for some of these carriers, is I'll find somebody within that country and get my seats through them. A lot of them are like $9 a seat. So it's not like it's an massive expense to the tour, but it's worth it than being stuck in wrong seats. Unfortunately, a lot of these carriers in Europe, they're all non-refundable, but they're also very cheap. Again, as Molly said, if you buy a business class ticket, some of them are not astronomical, then yes, it can also help with your bags and always helps with your seats. But it really depends on the tour. I have a few tours, which hopefully will go out this year, and many of those segments will be flown. And the A party obviously is easy. It's in business class, and the crew will go in the back. But again, by negotiating, sometimes I can get rid of part of the penalties, or at least make it refundable with a fee.
Great. Molly?
Hotel rules in Europe are way stricter than the US, way stricter.
Plus, you just got to get ahead of that curve as soon as you can. Like if you're last minute on Europe flights and hotels, like you're so SOL. You really got to be ahead of the game when you're moving over there, especially if it's all fly dates, hotels, because yeah, it's festival season. You're one of 100 bands that are doing the same routing, same time as you. So
correct.
I'm constantly competing
like
against
July,
other
August,
teams.
all of Europe goes on holiday.
Right.
Yes.
So not only are you competing with tours in the festival season, you're competing with just like civilians who have the whole month off.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, in the summer months, you're dealing with massive fashion shows, trade shows. I mean, obviously the Cannes Film Festival, MIP TV. I mean, they consume an entire town. I mean, you're only looking for 15 or 20 rooms. All those hotels are gone. Every suite is used as a showroom for these companies to show off their wares. And so your artist now doesn't get the room that he had last time because it's gone, and they're not happy. One of the things I do with Europe is, because their cancellation policies are incredibly strict, is I try and get it written into the contract that I can cancel a certain number of rooms, because I've had a tour where I canceled one room and they said, we're going to bill you. I said, you're not going to bill me, so I'm not going to pay for it. I mean, we eventually got around it, but I mean, that's how ridiculous they can be.
Yeah.
Right. Levi came in with a couple of questions. Hotel, do you usually use an alias? Yeah, we talked about that. We do. And part of the hotel advance is that you're sending a rooming list, and your folks are not getting stopped and asked for IDs. So that becomes a non-issue. When first formalizing the budget, do you initially add in airport, VIP, or greeter services, or wait on that until another time? I mean, I think that's something, Levi, that you kind of need to intuit in advance. And if you feel like you may need it, I would add it and have it in there, because it's always better to remove some money from the budget than it is to add it. So if you think you're going to need it, add it. You can always take it out later.
Everyone loves you when you come in under budget. Nobody loves you when you break the budget. You blow the budget.
Okay, so a question from our anonymous friend. This is a question, and we talked about this, and I would love for Nick and Molly to both answer this regarding travel agents' hours. And for everyone on this call, this has been something that tour managers and travel agents have been having great discussions about in person at our conferences. That, you know, we understand that we don't operate on a 9 to 5 basis, and that our business is a 24/7 business. However, we have folks that provide services for us that shut down on the weekends, may have a contingency. So, I mean, Nick Gold, I know that he's that guy, I can get that guy back at the oddest times. But a person who's got a company with several more employees, you may not. So let's talk about, is there a time of night we'd refrain from texting or calling our traveler, or are they always online? Let's have a general conversation about how we care for our travel agents and how they care for us, because that's a valid question.
I care about my travel agent's sleep, of course, but if I got something going wrong and I need her help, I'm going to call and wake up.
Right.
But I know the difference, because we've had the conversation. If it's important, call or text. You know, and if I can get to it tomorrow, email it. You know,
I do it in the standard. I do my first kind is, say, somewhat emergency. Are you awake? Can you handle this? The second one is, can I handle it? Second is, can I handle it myself? And do I not need to bother them because it's a weekend or they're having a life? And the third is, I get on the phone and say, emergency, I need you this now. So I kind of put it in those categories.
It's
so
triage.
You know, exactly, triage on emergency triage.
And some travel agents.
Molly, can you tell us how your company handles it? And then Nick, will you tell people how you handle it, because you guys may work differently.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, it comes back to managing expectations, right? So it's the first conversation we have about, you know, how we work. So I'm in Minnesota. In theory, I'm, 9 a.m. Central to 6 p.m. Central for normal stuff. I have a team, so I have somebody on the West Coast who works later. I have an evening ticketing desk who's also West Coast based, so they kind of do my cleanup work at night, so you know what hours to contact them. And then we're affiliated with a 24-hour flight service as well for any, dire emergencies if we're not available. But I was a tour manager, road manager, production coordinator, right? My clients are my friends. We're definitely on a text basis. I'm a former roadie. I love the work. I leave my office and go home and work on more flights. It's up to us to create boundaries and communicate what those hours are. And I think the big thing is communicating to you, who do you contact when you can't get me?
And that's
you know.
right. And that's a question that you ask. Nick, give us.
So we're a little different. I've had it out of our service. I didn't like them.
Yeah.
I found when I was spending to have them, all they did was insult my clients. And I'm going back many years. So all of my staff, they have an option that I give them. If they give their number to the band they're working on, then they got to be prepared to know that somebody may call them. I try to tell all bands that if it's an emergency, as your bus is breaking down, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, yeah, call me because I've got to get you there.
Right.
But if it can wait until I get up at 6:30 and I can see your email, it isn't that important until noon, well, that's also much better for me. All of my staff look after all of the bands that we do within their working schedule and home schedule. If it's a band that I think is going to be overly demanding, or someone who wants something after 11 p.m. at night, then they find me, and it just better be the emergency that it's supposed to be, because I will bill them. I've only ever had to do that once, and they didn't care, and I was happy to bill it. But my bands that we use are obviously appreciative of what we do, and as a tour manager, which I once was many years ago, it's for that person to realize, as Jim said, you know, what's the level of emergency? You know, can I just call American and ask the question?
Right.
You know, is it the manager of the hotel? You know, just because the night auditor's the guy who answers the phone, there's somebody that can be reached, because I've got to reach the same person. I don't automatically have the cell phone of every hotel for every band, because some of the smaller acts aren't in hotels that even have something like that. So I think it depends on the level of the emergency and can it wait. The most important one for me, obviously, is if that bus has got a problem and that's coming into a show day, we've got to find a way to get them to that show, whether it's finding a ground company to go pick them up. I won't get into private planes because that's another whole animal. But that's what we do. So it's all done in-house, and it's all done in central time.
Right. So I would just say to that question, the bottom line is, it's the same thing as you do everything else as a tour manager. Know what to do. Go back to your travel agent and get a clear answer about, if it's such and such a time, who am I calling? Where is my first, you know, and then there are some agencies that will have on-call people. Tag's got a full-on 24-hour service line. Some folks will email you and say, so-and-so's on call this day. So-and-so's on call this day. So just communicate with your travel agents and find out what their preferred protocol is for off-hour emergencies.
And another really good tip is on Fridays, know what you're doing for the weekend. It's so important to get on Saturday and have a problem going like, oh, nobody's in the office, and what do I do now? Like, prep your weekend, prep through Monday when you get there, when Friday hits or Thursday hits, so that you're covered for all your stuff. You make sure you have all your information, so you don't have to bug your travel agent for something simple on the weekend because when they're not in the office.
And I crack up every Friday at about 12 p.m. and I'm on the West Coast, and all of a sudden I'm getting all sorts of emails and texts and all sorts of, you know, questions about A, B, and C, and it just cracks me up every Friday without fail.
I like this.
We also talked about yesterday briefly was that many of us use a separate travel agent for North America and for Europe, especially, mainly just because of time, you know, because of time zones, being able to get a hold of person on the phone at any given time. Some travel agencies do have offices in, you know, both London and somewhere in the US. Sometimes people use totally separate ones, but they can work in tandem, or sometimes they don't.
We have partnerships, and, you know, we can, your US travel agent can refer you to a travel agent elsewhere if you wanted to use somebody local.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. How are we? I think we're good. And
Beautiful.
We're over
Yeah.
20 minutes, so.
I learned
was
a lot.
fun.
This was a good one. I learned a lot
Yeah,
from this.
really well.
I
I
learned
did
a lot
too.
A
today.
lot today.
We
Yeah.
could talk forever on this.
Yeah.
Maybe we can touch base at the end again. This one, we may need to revisit this one.
Yeah.
I can't add one thing that just came in for those people who are big American airline flyers. American Airlines just announced
Yep.
they're going to match status on their elite members. Just came in about 10 minutes ago.
Yep.
Beautiful. That's great news.
Just got the text.
Yeah.
That's
Took them
awesome.
long enough.
I'm an
Thanks,
American Delta guy.
everyone.
Yeah, thanks everybody. All the templates that we talked about today are up on the website, and we'll
Thanks,
see you
Henry.
guys Thursday for our
Day of
next session.
show. Day of show. Next.
Thanks,
this
Jamie and
Thursday.
Molly.
Yeah, thank you, Molly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys,
Bye.
thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Uh,
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Nick.
Welcome. Thank you.